Hi friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how I have made an additional £170,000 in the last 16 months alongside my full-time job. And the icing on the cake is that I did this predominantly passively and all online because the punchline is in month number 9, I had my second baby. So I'm going to be breaking everything down for you. I'm going to be talking you through the entire journey, the entire process from month 1 in January 2023 all the way through to the end of May 2024. And I'll be talking through the revenue, what I did, what worked, what didn't work, and we're just going to have a bit of a chat about it. If you're new here, my name is Helena, and on this channel, I talk about money, business, and growing your wealth. All right, get comfortable because we have got a lot to get through. I've got my notes here, everything I've done over the last 16 months to make over £170,000 alongside my full-time job or whilst being on maternity leave. So let's get into it. My story starts in December 2023, and if you know me from TikTok, you may have seen the first video that I ever posted. Basically, I was sitting in my kitchen one Sunday evening and I was scrolling through TikTok and I kept seeing all of these people posting and talking about how they were making all of this money online. And the classic hook that everybody had was, this is a side hustle for the broken lazy. This is how you can make £100,000, no problem at all. And I am a venture capital investor as my day job. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've been running businesses for the last 17 years. And I just remember thinking, this has got to be a load of shit. There is no way these people are making that much money because I know business. This just can't be real life. So you know what? I am going to put this to the test, and I am going to test this all out as a professional entrepreneur, as someone who's been in this game for a really long time, and see if this stuff actually works. Because I was thinking, am I just really missing a trick here? Like, do I even know what I'm talking about? Am I missing out on this massive money-making opportunity that all of these 20-something-year-olds know about, and they're doing it on TikTok? So I sat down and I thought, you know what? I am going to put this to the test. So I really skeptically approached this because I just thought there is no way people are making this much money online. My experience of running businesses had taught me that you either needed hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds of investment to make a business really work and make it successful, or you needed to have a reasonably big team and be in a service-based business for you to make any kind of real money. So that was the kind of context that I went into this experiment, for want of a better word, thinking of. That was the lens through which I viewed entrepreneurship. And I sat down in my kitchen and I thought, okay, let's put this to the test. Let's see if I can make £100,000, because that's what all of the gurus are telling me that you can make online. Let's see if I can make £100,000 in 12 months, test out all of these different side hustles that people are talking about, and put it to the test, document it all on TikTok, and let's just see what happens. So that was December 2023. And when I started, I thought, I'm not going to use any of the resources, any of the finances of any of the existing businesses I already had. I thought, I'm not even going to share a Zoom account or an email address or anything. I'm not going to use any of the technology, the subscriptions, or even like any kind of equipment, my work phone, anything like that to get this business off the ground. I knew I was going to have to make some initial capital to start with, even though at the time I didn't even know what the first side hustle that I was going to test out was going to be. So in those first few weeks, I was literally just selling the stuff I already owned, and I was trying to make a bit of a bank of some of the popular side hustles that I kept seeing people doing online. People were saying, oh, you can make £100,000 from print on demand or selling digital products or Amazon FBA, and making a bit of a list of the kinds of things I was going to start testing out so I could really hit the ground running when it came to January. And in January, that's when I started properly testing things out and also tracking my income. So we start the new year in January 2023, and I was still very lost at this point in time. I didn't know what my grand plan was going to be. I had no idea how I was going to make this £100,000 that I had set out to make. And the icing on the cake was that I had now amassed a pretty significant audience on TikTok. So I reached 10,000 followers on TikTok within 2 weeks. And the reason why I think I grew so rapidly on TikTok is because back in December 2022, that was right at the beginning of the cost of living crisis. Now, and I think, making additional money was very much at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. Interest rates were sky high. People were worried about mortgage increases. Gas and energy prices were absolutely through the roof. And we were starting to feel the effects also trickle down into people's weekly food shops. So I was talking about content that was very culturally relevant at the time I started my TikTok channel. So I grew to 10,000 followers really, really quickly. And to be honest, that really gave me the motivation to keep going, because I had thousands of people watching and expecting me to show up and test out these side hustles. So at this point in January, I really didn't have a choice. And in all honesty, that was great for me. It gave me the accountability and it gave me a community of people to actually show up for. That said, in January, I still didn't have a clue what I was going to do. So if you go back through my TikTok page, you will see all of the experiments I was doing and all these kind of like little bits of things. And I really wasn't putting in any kind of effort and I didn't have any real strategy or plan. However, I did do one thing that worked really well in January. And spoiler, this actually has become my most profitable, most successful side hustle that I've started. It's the one that still makes me all of the money that I make today, and that is I launched my first digital product, and this was a £9 business spreadsheet finance tracker that I showed people as I was kind of working out what might be the most profitable side hustle for me. As I was testing it out, I made a video of it on TikTok and I didn't even have it listed at the time. And a few people in the comments said, hey, I would really love this template. Could you make this for us and make it available? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, great, I will. And that spreadsheet, alongside selling some bits and pieces of things on eBay and Vinted, in total made me £986.20 in January 2023. All right, February rolls around, still very much in testing mode. I tried print on demand and I just set it up as this kind of experiment to see, one, if Etsy really would drive traffic to a store. And then secondly, I wanted to see if it really was as simple as setting up a design, putting it on Etsy, and just letting like the SEO magic do its thing. And absolutely no surprises here, it was not that simple at all. So I very quickly abandoned ship because I was working full time. I had minimal time to work on this. I was only dedicating an hour of the day in the evenings to working on this side hustle project. And I was just like, you know what? I do not have time for this. And I don't have the months and months ahead of me where I can afford to be wasting my time on this if it's not going to work out for me, because the products, the margins, and I was using my spreadsheet calculator to work this all out, the margins of physical products just weren't there for me to make the kind of money that I was looking to make. The other thing that I tested out in February was I did my first piece of UGC work. And now UGC, if you don't know what that is user generated content. And this is where a brand will hire you to create content for them. You don't have to post it on your own social media page. You don't need a social media following at all. They'll hire you to make a video as a customer, as a user, and they will use it for advertising and on their own social channels. And I had a company reach out directly to me on TikTok and say, hey, we really like your style of content and your delivery. Would you mind filming a few videos for us? And I filmed 3 videos for them. I did it for, I think, around £300, and it was super easy and great. However, again, another thing for me, about UGC as a side hustle at the time was that I just didn't have the time that I could dedicate to growing it and that I could execute on it properly when I was working full time, especially when I was thinking, okay, you get paid around about £100 a video and I want to make £100,000 in 1 year. And my targets towards the end of the year are massive. And I just didn't think that business model was going to work for the kind of money that I was looking to make. That meant that in February, I tested out UGC, I did some print on demand where I had no sales at all, and I was still selling my digital product, my business planner, tracker, finance spreadsheet. And all of this took me to a grand total of £2,202.60. March 2023, I completely fell off the bandwagon. I hardly posted any videos at all, and I only made £53 in sales from my digital product. The only thing that saved me in March is I count money when the cash lands in my bank account. So I did my first ever paid ad with a business in February 2023, and the cash for that collaboration landed in my bank in March, and I was paid £1,000. So that took me to a total in March 2023 of £1,053, which is still absolutely incredible considering I did very, very little in that month. And the reason I did very little in that month is because I was in the early stages of my second pregnancy and I was incredibly sick. Now, obviously, when I started out this journey and I thought I'm going to make £100,000 in 12 months, I did not know that I was pregnant. So all of a sudden I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've committed to this actually massive thing, what was becoming quite a big side project for me, even though it was only an hour a day in the evenings after work. I committed to this big thing. I was producing content, I was making videos every day on TikTok, and then I was thinking, I'm gonna have this baby at the end of September, early October, and my sales figures or my targets for that time were huge, and I was just so overwhelmed thinking, how am I actually going to do this? Because I didn't want to quit. I knew I wanted to stay committed for myself and also for the audience that I had built up, but I was so worried about how I was actually going to do this and make it all work when I was now so sick at the start of my second pregnancy, and I knew I wanted to be in that newborn baby bubble come the end of the year. But let me tell you, there is nothing like an impending baby and a pregnancy to get you super focused. So I guess instead of nesting, I just really went down the track of focusing as much as I could on creating a really well-oiled machine that could generate me income whilst I was going to be off on maternity leave with my new baby. April rolls around and I really needed to get myself together. I was so convinced. I cannot express how convinced I was and how passionately I wanted to launch a physical product business. I was obsessed with trying to run some kind of homeware kids brand business, and I designed a product, I'd ordered samples, I wasted, I think in the end, somewhere in the region of about £600 over the course of a few months. So a lot of the money that I had made so far, I invested / wasted on getting production samples made up of physical products that I was convinced I was going to, set up an Instagram. It was going to be all beautiful and curated, and I was going to have this homeware, kidwear brand. Unsurprisingly, that didn't work out. And the reason it didn't work out were, one, the margins just weren't there. When I was doing the numbers and using my spreadsheets to calculate the profitability of this product, I was like, I just can't make this work. I can't meet the sales targets and also meet the profit targets. The second reason it didn't work out was because I just didn't have the time or the energy or frankly the underlying motivation in the product that I was trying to launch to stay consistent with it. And midway through April, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to scrap this whole thing and I'm going to really go back to basics and focus on what has been working for me so far. And what had been working for me so far were digital products. So I I got myself together mid-April and I launched 2 new Notion templates, and I launched those both to my TikTok audience and also the email list that I had started to build up. I did some more UGC work and I was paid for another paid advertising collaboration. And in total, in April 2023, I made £3,613.90. We are now in May 2023, and I knew that if I was going to make this work, if I was going to have time off at the end of the year to be with my new baby, and I was going to be able to hit all of the, albeit self-imposed financial targets and keep up with content creation, I knew that I was going to have to set in a system for bringing in sales in a really scalable and efficient way. So I was going to have to get smart on 2 levels. One was with my time and the other was with my margins. Up until this point, of course, my digital products had been working really well for me, but I needed something that I could turn into this really well-oiled machine. So I started to think more outside of the box on areas that I had a lot of knowledge and experience in that I could digitize and turn my knowledge and experience into digital products that I could sell to people. Ensure that I didn't invest the little time that I did have building and creating something that nobody wanted to buy and no one actually had a problem with. I decided to start doing a few one-to-one strategy sessions with businesses and with individual solo entrepreneurs about their problems, about what I could help them with. And I also surveyed my audience. And the one thing that came up time and time again was people not understanding how AI and automation could accelerate the growth of their businesses. And I started to put together the framework for what would then become my AI and automation starter kit. However, none of this was live yet. So in May, I had a few one-to-one sessions, and I also had my digital products, my Notion templates, and my spreadsheet still on sale. And in total, I made £2,666. June is where things start to get really interesting because I had really dialed things up in terms of talking to my audience, surveying my audience, nurturing my audience, and asking them what problems they had that I could help them solve. I still was running a few one-to-one strategy sessions, but I also ran my first set of AI and automation workshops, and I ran a couple in June and a couple in July. In total, in June, I made £9,085.12. And this was the first time that I ever got close to that kind of golden £10,000 mark that lots of people were talking about. And I made all of this money from either working in a very close capacity with a small handful of individuals and businesses, specifically on digital products that would work for them, or via selling my own digital products. And it's no joke when I say that I was doing this in 1 or 2 hours in the evenings and maybe a couple of weekends. And I just thought it was wild that I could make this much money alongside a full-time job and also being 25 weeks pregnant. We get into July, nothing really changed. I hadn't changed my strategy. I didn't really launch any new products. I delivered a workshop on AI and automation for business. And I also had a week's holiday at the start of July and a week's holiday at the end of July. And this is where the power of digital products really crystallized for me as something that was highly scalable, that had really great margins, and that could still work for me even when I wasn't working, because I took those 2 weeks off on holiday and I still made £7,575.52. And that's when I thought, this is it. This is what I'm really going to double down on. This is what's going to make me successful in this challenge and ensure that I can hit my goals, because I found something that doesn't require me to change my time for money and also has really great margins and is really scalable. It was also having a genuine impact on people and helping people to solve problems that they were having within their business. We're now in August, and this is when I thought, okay, I now need to really knuckle down and do the work that is literally going to pay me later on in the year, because come the middle of September, I could have a newborn baby. So I spent August really focusing on the systems in my business. I really refined my messaging. I really refined my email flows and launched new opt-in freebies to get more people on my email list. I created content with a lot more frequency and a lot more purpose. I created anchor content that I knew would last a long time in the algorithm, that honestly, a year later, I am still getting subscribers to my email list from videos and content that I created a full 12 months ago. And I focused on setting up this machine that would work in the background even when I was going to be off with my new baby. August was also the time where I had a massive mindset shift, and I thought, okay, let's not just treat this like this little side hustle, this side project, this thing that you do in the evening that's making you really good money. Let's treat this like a proper business, and frankly treat it like this was my full-time job, even though I was only working on it in the evenings and on a couple of weekends. So that's what I spent my time doing in August. And at the very end of the month, I took all of my learnings, all of the problems that had been presented to me, both in my one-to-one sessions, but also in the workshops that I had been running on AI and automation, and I launched my AI and automation starter kit, and I launched it at the price of £37 right at the end of the month. So some of the sales fall into August and some of them fall into September, and I made £7,369. Since August 2023, my AI and automation starter kit has really become one of my best selling, almost signature digital products that still makes me a really good, really consistent income every single month. But in September, I was in that launch phase. It was something that I was quite heavily promoting on my TikTok, but also to my email list, and also through a funnel from my freebie, my AI and automation toolkit. In total, in September, I made £10,282.53 alongside my full-time job, predominantly passively and all online. And I just remember thinking, okay, hopefully this is it. You've got it right, fingers crossed. I remember kind of logging out of my computer on the 29th of September and thinking, I am definitely having a baby in the next few days. I hope I've done enough. I hope I've recorded enough content. I hope all of these emails work, like fingers crossed, and let's see what happens in my first few months of maternity leave. Now, thankfully, it worked, because I had a baby at the start of October, and oh my goodness, did all of the work that I had done in those summer months, particularly in August, they paid off. I think I posted a couple of videos in October that were pre-recorded, but in all honesty, in those early days of having a new baby, I remember looking at everything I created before having my baby and thinking, I hate all this. I'm not posting any of this. So I was very much relying on the historical stuff and the automations and the email flows and the funnels I'd set up to really work their magic. And they did, because again, aside from being paid for a couple of invoices that were overdue from some UGC work that I did back in August, in October, when I did absolutely nothing, I made £11,323. We get into November and I think, this is a total fluke. This is never going to be the same. I'm not going to make that much money again. And to be honest, I wasn't really checking my phone. I wasn't logging into TikTok, and I didn't look at a single email. But despite this, despite being on maternity leave, despite not doing a single thing, I still made £13,662.12. We get to December and I think the same again, except this time I had prepared a new digital product to launch at the end of the month, because we were coming up to a new year and I knew I was going to launch a new version of my Notion planner, and I would be using a couple of my Keeping in Touch days in January to host a couple of workshops. So in December, I launched a new digital product planner, my ultimate business planner. I still sell it to this day. I'll link it below if you want to take a look at it. It's the Notion template that I use every single day to run every kind of facet of my life and all of my businesses. Honestly, if it's not in Notion, I'm just not doing it. And I launched a template version of this so that people could replicate that kind of system in their own lives. I launched it at the end of December. I didn't really do a build up of anything because I wasn't really creating a new content other than doing a couple of videos reporting on my income. 12 months into me testing out all of these different side hustles, in December, I made £13,085.75. And this took me to a grand total in revenue for the year of £82,884.74. So whilst I didn't hit my £100,000 target, I would argue I actually did something that was much better, because I found a business that genuinely worked, that made money, that didn't take up a huge amount of time, that was highly scalable, that was highly profitable, and worked for me even when I wasn't working, because I was having a baby. And in case you were wondering where I was at on the expenses side of things at this point, I made £78,491 in profit. So despite not hitting my goal in 2023, I started out 2024 thinking, okay, I'm gonna set a new goal, and actually I want to see how far I can take this business of selling digital products, of content creation, and see how much money and profit I can make in another year, and whether or not I can reinvest some of that profit in either other businesses, other cash generative businesses, other business investments, and just see how far I can take things and how much overall wealth I can build up, starting from that initial ground zero of literally selling the things that I have in my house that I already owned, and building up the wealth through these kind of steps of businesses. And the one that I have found so far that has worked really, really well is monetizing my knowledge and selling these digital products. So I went into 2024 with a new goal, and that goal was to make £300,000. And this time I had to include VAT, because I've had to register for VAT, which is one of the consequences of making money. In January, my funnel was still working really, really well. I was making money from my AI and automation starter kit. I was making money from my spreadsheets, my Notion templates, and I also had a really viral video on New Year's Day, which is where a lot of my audience found me. And I grew by 30,000 followers on TikTok in the space of like 3 days, and it was wild. Also in January, I launched my 30-day Start a Business With Me content series challenge. I didn't launch any new products, but I still made £12,324.63. By this point, I was getting a ton of inquiries from people being like, I want to do what you're doing. I want to monetize my knowledge. I want to replicate the success that you've had. Could you teach me how to do what you're doing with creating content online and selling digital products? And so I launched my digital product masterclass series. In all honesty, I was so nervous to launch this product because I didn't want people just to think that I was only making money from teaching people about making money, because the reality was I was making money from my Notion templates, my spreadsheets, and my AI and automation starter kit, and that's still where I make money now. However, I was also so mindful that people were buying utter crap on the internet, and they were buying lots and lots of different things, pieces of the puzzle, and it wasn't really working for them because all of the information wasn't in one place. So I just thought, okay, I am going to do a download of my brain and put absolutely everything I know about creating and selling digital products successfully online and put it into a masterclass series, which is over 30 videos covering everything from picking a profitable niche to serving customers to creating the actual products itself to actually technically setting everything up so that you create that automated workflow that I have and still works for me to this day to genuinely make money for you when you're not even working. And I'm going to take all of that content and all of that information and record it all, put it into this masterclass series and share it with everyone. And I also launched a very small group mentorship program because there were some people that wanted to have that extra contact time, that wanted to have that additional feedback, that additional support and guidance. So that's what I launched in February. And in addition to selling my regular products, in February, I made £21,376.10. In March, things took a bit of a dip, and this is where you can kind of see the difference between me just selling spreadsheets, Notion templates, my AI and automation starter kit, and then me really pushing something like my digital product masterclass, because in March, I made £14,088.84. So still absolutely incredible considering that I don't spend any money on ads and I am selling low ticket digital products. April was very similar. I didn't really change things up much at all, except in April, I ran a one-off session, a group session for people on TikTok growth for sales, because that was something that my audience was saying to me, okay, we're really struggling to monetize TikTok, to build an audience that actually converts and buys from you. So I ran a small group session for 2 weeks called TikTok growth for sales. It was £49 and then I think it was £59. We had a small group of people, and in total for April, alongside all of my other products, I made £16,030. Finally, we are up to date. We are in month 16, and this is when you can really see the power of revisiting things, of tweaking things, of tweaking some funnels, of tweaking some calls to action and some sales pages. Because in total, in May, I made £23,157.56, which takes me to a grand total so far this year of £86,977.13. And that means so far in 2024, I have already made more than I made in all of 2023. And I have done this whilst being on maternity leave, which is absolutely incredible. So that's the story so far. That's what's happened on a month by month basis. That's the evolution of my growth, of what didn't work for me, and kind of a bit of behind the scenes as to why I picked the specific side hustle that I did and how I really turned it into a fully fledged business that works for me even when I'm not working. And to round things off, I just really wanted to share 3 things that I think I've done that have made this possible. The first is that I just started and I kept going. And I think because I publicly talked about it and built a community around it, I really had that accountability of people to show up for, and that really helped me with my consistency. The second thing that I did is I removed all barriers to entry. As I've said before, I have far from the perfect setup for creating content, for running a business alongside my full-time job. Like, I have 2 kids, a really busy full-time job as an investor. I don't have any of the production set up to do what I'm doing, but I'm still doing it anyway because I have just removed all of the barriers to entry for myself. I've not got hung up on having the perfect environment and the perfect situation, and I've just executed on things anyway. And finally, I had a really compelling reason to keep going, and that was the money, because I can't lie, the amount of money that I have made online in the last 16 months is completely life-changing, and I hope to be able to utilize it, to invest it, to grow that wealth even more. I started out, as I said, I was extremely skeptical that this would work. And now I have proven to myself and hopefully to other people that this is legit, and it does work, and it has worked for me, and it's worked for many other people that have taken my digital product masterclass, who have worked with me in my mentorship or have worked with me one-to-one. And I don't care who you are, like, this level of money is completely game-changing. So that's it, you're up to date. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I've popped a few useful links for you down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do let me know in the comments and consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.